Hello everyone and welcome back to my equestrian channel. For the new viewers, this is my equestrian adventure channel. This is where you will get to experience what it's like owning horses in South Africa, as well as all of my travel and competition adventures I have had in this country. You'll also get to experience my entire immigration journey from the very start to the very end. Well, kinda end. More like the very beginning for my adventure in the UK. So hit that like and subscribe for more weekly content on everything to do with my equestrian adventure, equestrian education about owning horses in South Africa, as well as lifestyle and products that I love and hate. For my current subscribers, in today's video, I'm actually having a visit from our equine dentist, Wayne, who is coming out to check both my horses today. Now, Ablesse has not exactly been feeling that great to ride. Her mouth is notoriously difficult to bit. I've never struggled so much with a horse before in my life, but I think that is probably because of her breeding. Self-Francais horses are notoriously difficult with their mouths. They get quite hard in the mouths. And also her father is Giram, and from what I've heard, he is also a little bit of a challenging stallion to ride and compete with. I thought she's not exactly feeling the bit very well. It's like really difficult to turn her, which is very abnormal. So usually she actually does listen to the bit enough to actually turn left or turn right, but this time when I was riding her, I could not get her to turn. So I asked Wayne to come out today to check her mouth out, as well as check out Costa's mouth, because that's the first thing you do. If the horse is not exactly communicating well with you, there could be a reason for that, such as the horse is uncomfortable for whatever reason. So the first thing you do is to check the horse's mouth. And the mouth is very important because that's where the bit goes. If the horse is very uncomfortable and not listening to the bit at all, first thing you check is the mouth. Unless you got hard hands, then you really need to work on those hard hands. But if the dentist does not see anything wrong at all with the mouth, the next thing you check is the saddle. And if the saddle fitter can't really figure out there's anything that's wrong with the horse, such as the saddles fit badly or it's digging into the horse in any way, then you do another check with the physio or a chiropractor or a acupuncturist to check if there's anything wrong with the muscle. If all else fails, your last resort is a sport vet, because they will check whether your horse is lame and no one else can see it. On to Wayne's visit, so we can see exactly what he has to say about Ablesse's mouth. Oh my god.
This is a bomber.
Bomber measure.
Bomber measurer, so. Oh, come on, sweetheart. Come, Madam Ablesse, come. Get that on. So over there. Over there, let's give it. Will you? I'm screwing it the wrong way. There we go, okay. Get the goggles on. I rest my case. 130. So,
130.
yeah, you could probably around 135 for her. So remember, 150, you got to say 155.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put that back in. And look how big that is.
So that means that I'm not getting anywhere with that bit.
I don't think so. I think you could go a little bit smaller, probably around a 135, 140.
Would it not like clip into her mouth?
No. That's why, you know, when you saw when I measured her, and it was reasonably tight. It was around there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to allow for a little bit, but 135, I think is fine. 135, 140. That's, people often think that because it's a warm blood,
Must
they
have a
have these
big mouth.
monster mouths, and they actually don't. A number of warm bloods that we've measured have been around the 130, 135 mark, sometimes 140.
So you don't think that for now, while she has that ulcer in her mouth, would be best to have like a hackamore in, just to allow it to heal?
You could try. You could try that. You know, see if she responds. I must be honest. There's been very few horses, and again, just this is my little humble opinion. Not many horses respond
To a hackamore.
to hackamores. You know, you battle to turn them and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the look, I wouldn't worry too much. It's you know, she's probably just poked herself, and it's on its way to healing. You know, I quickly get the gag on and just put and make sure everything else up the back is all right.
Look at all that. What is that?
Oh, no, not again.
Oh my god.
It was done over
What is that?
just over a month ago, mother. Well, you know what? Then don't argue when Mom's riding. Then Mom wouldn't be worried. Because she used to jump the
135, 140.
140s, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were still at Barry and Lorette's.
Yeah, and things have been going from bad to worse since then, but I suppose that's because of like old age catches up with you.
Unfortunately, my dear, it catches up with us. You didn't see me get out of bed. I just turned 59, so.
Oh, but you're not that old. My dad's like around that age. You guys are sprightly for that age.
She's also got the shelling out. There's a little piece there.
Ooh. What exactly do you do in there with your hands?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Just feeling, making sure. I actually just get my torch on and then do a oral inspection.
Are you not worried your hand will ever get?
No, well, we put a lot of trust in the full mouth speculum, or as my wife calls it, the mouth jack.
She's quite fiddly with her mouth with this thing on.
Yeah, she's just playing it obviously on the incisors and that, you know. So get the goggles on. My sweetheart, I don't know if you want to come and just try and film in there. You see how many teeth I actually have got. Wow. As I say, you know, everything looking really good. Look, she's an older girlie, so she's got senile excavation. This side, she's got the piece there at the 109 that's worn quite down, quite severely. But otherwise, everything looks good here. And it's got a bit of caries, which is decay, and which we just monitor. And everything looks good. You can see she's not reacting violently or with pain. You know that there's something worrying her there. And yeah.
So if she was reacting violently, it would mean that she's in serious agony.
Maybe a bit of a fracture, or she's got a cut on her cheek or a tongue or something like that. So.
Hello.
How are you, my dear?
Very well, and you?
Hello.
Lekker.
You getting photos for your?
Just getting checked over. Melissa was just worried about her because she's not been responsive to the bit. But she looks like she's poked her cheek or something down here.
Oh my goodness.
She's a little bit touchy there.
So that might be why.
So try it with a hackamore and then maybe give her a week and then back to the bit. But if it's a 155, I would maybe look at a smaller one. Yeah, just slightly smaller.
So it doesn't pinch the cheek sides at all. Huh.
I've always said, what's the most important part of a rider's body?
The head. Is it the head?
Nope.
No. The hands? Oh, because the hands are the extension of the bits.
Exactly. Yes, obviously you have to have a good mind riding and things like that, but if a rider doesn't have good hands, you can be so hard on a horse's mouth, and no matter what soft bit you put in the mouth,
Still will be hard.
that rider's still going to be hard. No, we're not gods, we're not gurus. We can do the work that we can in a horse's mouth. Some horses, it's a mind thing, they have difficult mouths. Some of the breeds, or the bloodlines, some of them just have difficult mouths. So then you've now got to try and work out. Listen,
What
try
works.
with a hackamore, she might love it.
I think she did at one point, but then
Yeah.
I tried it again recently. I don't know if I wasn't fitting the bridle properly or something like that, but she did not respond to it at all.
I had a horse that I tried to ride with a hackamore, big 18 handles, and it just didn't work. He just towed me all over the place, And eventually also with a hackamore, you've got to be so careful of pressure on the nose all the time, So, you know what, maybe you just need to play around with some bits.
That's
But again, I
why
would look at sort of 135, 140 length, And you can see, when I measured it, it's not pushing there like it. It's just against the side, because you don't want the bit going from side to side. That for me makes it worse.
that's probably actually what's happening, where it goes like
It slides
sawing.
right through. Yeah.
So if it's
Yeah.
like a little bit closer, then it's like more of effectively working.
Yeah, and there is obviously a bit of pressure on the sides. But listen, I'm not a bit specialist. I'm not a bit fundy. It'd be good to speak to some of the bit guys. And sort of take it from there. But that's again my little humble opinion.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
otherwise, everything's fine with her. Again, she's an older girlie, so her teeth have worn, sort of according to her age. Yeah.
Okay.
But then also, just remember, don't let her take you for a ride.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with her. She knows she can take me for a ride because she's so strong. I mean, she's 17 now. I've tried doing different methods of training with her, but that was like, what's the point? I'm retiring her now.
Yes, yeah.
So,
And if you say she's got some of the issues in her back, does that tweak her where she's not able to take the contact and bend and stuff like that? Everything's connected, so
she's gotten a lot better with actually just pulling her neck down, but like she can't put her head all the way down to the ground.
She can't keep it there all the time.
Yeah.
There has to be times. Well, maybe you just need to take her in hand a little bit, school her, and keep her in the shape, keep the contact, but then just let her relax down.
Yeah.
After a few minutes, try that.
She's also quite fizzy in the brain as well. Like
Okay.
at one
That
point,
doesn't help either.
it does not.
Has she got French blood in her somewhere?
Yeah, so she's actually a
There we
Self-Français,
go.
but she's
When
I heard that they're registered
When I mentioned
country.
some of the breeds, Self-Français, from my experience, I'm not saying all of them are like it, otherwise just now all the Self-Français breeders are going to jump down my throat. But some of the Self-Français have been known to have difficult mouths. I remember Rogan's 3 socks that he jumped. She was also Self-Français, also tricky mouth. You had to almost play around with stuff with her, bitwise and that. So there we go. Self-Français.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, she is also. I learned a bit more about her bloodline. That actually, her ancestor was red rum.
Okay.
So her grandfather was bloody hot and also difficult to bid, and not many people could ride him. And he was, I think that was Kudam Durval. And then Gidam, I don't know much, but apparently he was also quite difficult. So like the whole entire bloodline,
No, absolutely.
difficult
As I say,
horses.
that's, especially some of those lines, they're just tricky, hot, tricky. Don't like being fiddled with their mouths, that sort of thing.
Yeah, she gets very impatient with me. If I tried once 3 bits in one day, and then she just was not happy. She just
Sure.
started bucking, and I was like, okay, message received.
You're an enigma, my girl. You're an enigma. Right. Alrighty, but look, as I say, try that. See where you go from there. If you don't mind, keep us posted.
I will do.
Always nice to know, you know. But teeth-wise and that, she's okay.
My bless you.
Until you're due again.
It's like, okay, get away from me now.
Yeah, don't leave me. I need to go to the paddock. The grass is.
What do you use the brush and pail for?
Oh, that's obviously when we filing the teeth. It's just to take the tooth dust off. You know, once we've filed it, then obviously we just use that to clean it off. It's got Equine scrub in there, which is a disinfectant, and yeah, that's what we used. And as I say, that's pretty much what the full mouth speculum looks like.
See, every single time I go to the dentist, I always freak out because of all the tools. Just looking at all those tools.
Lucky you don't have this put on you to open your mouth. Eh?
I'm pretty sure the dentist would want to put that on.
I'm pretty sure you would like it too, but yeah.
Hey, Costa.
That's obviously all our tools and stuff that we use.
So what's the injection?
That's just to rinse the mouth.
Ew.
So once we've done the work.
Looks a lot more sinister than what
Yeah,
I
it's a dosing syringe, so you know, as I say, just to rinse the tooth dust out of the mouth once we're done.
Okay.
And then all the various torture tools. Yeah, and as I say with him, can't find anything there with him. You know, everything's nice and as his mouth goes. You know, again, older boy, lots of
Issues.
senile excavation. That what happens is when I talk about senile excavation, your upper molars are bigger than your lower molars. So over time, the tooth's made up of dentin, cementum and enamel. So over time, because of the pressures from the lower molars, it wears away the dentin and the cementum. And it's an age thing. Their teeth don't unfortunately last forever.
I've heard people overseas starting to fill their horses with cement, like what we do with fillings, but I don't quite agree with it, because for me, with all the fillings that I
have to be honest, I think we need to find out more research on it, and obviously the guys are doing it. One of the questions we've asked, and I know there's been some questions asked sort of in American circles, is again, the tooth's made up of dentin, cementum and enamel. When we go to our dentist and there's a cavity, the dentist needs to make sure that all the necrosis is out before they do a filling. Now, are the burrs long enough? Because horses' tooth's this long. So
My God.
if are the burrs going in deep enough? Have they gone too deep? And then the compound or the acrylics or whatever it is they're using to fill it, does it wear at the same rate as the dentin, the cementum and the enamel? And look, obviously time will tell. We need to find out a bit more about it. But I think more research. There are places in the UK that are doing it. And just time will tell. I'm a bit on the fence at the moment. It's not cheap, and obviously it's not always about money. But it's not a cheap procedure.
Is it as costly as, like, say, pulling a fracture out of a...
Well, we had one client, which my son did. The horse had also around 17 had a filling done. And then 2 years later was when he saw it. He said it felt like an old fracture. So I think we need to see the stages of when it's done. It all looks really, really good, and I'll probably be shot down in flames by certain quarters with regards to this. But again, those I think are relevant questions that we need to ask. Let's see the beginning, the middle, and
the end
sort of stage of the whole treatment, how it's worn and all that sort of stuff. And I don't think that's being unreasonable to ask those things.
Would it ever, like, I really want to know about the fillings, if they would ever, like, somehow the material expands the tooth and just causes the fracture itself?
I don't know if it expands the tooth. Again, for us it's all about the wear rate, because horses' teeth erupt at 3 mils a year. So they're continuously grinding at 1,400 pounds per square inch. So does that compound or whatever it is that they're filling it with, can it take those pressures?
So you'd
And
be
does it affect the other part of the tooth? You know, and again, that's why I said we need. It's nice. We see the once they've done the procedure, where it all looks nice and it's the cavities, you know, been filled. But what does it look like 6 months down the line?
Oh yeah.
Look like a year down the line.
I would not want to spend that much on a filling, only for it to do another filling like 6 months later.
Exactly. You know, those are the questions. And I think they are relevant questions to ask. We're not always going to agree on everything. I understand that. We need to see more research into it. We need to see later stages of when the horse has had the procedure done, of how it's worn, and stuff like that. Like I say, there's 3 properties in the tooth, you know, dentin, cementum and enamel. Now that compound, or whatever you want to call it, in there, does it wear at what rate does it wear? Does it wear at the cementum, the dentin,
The enamel.
the enamel, you know, and then, like you've quite rightly said, the kinds of pressures that it does, it then start to affect the tooth in another way. You know, it's fairly, like I said, early sort of procedures. Research needs to be done. We need to see the before and afters, and then
I think
take it from there.
what they had for us in the Victorian era was actually like the stuff that they used to put in the teeth, like fillings.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to react, and people's teeth would explode and kill them.
Oh my word, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that. I'm like, I don't want my teeth exploding.
No.
No, well, I don't think they've seen anything explode, thank goodness.
That research really helps.
Yeah, the research, yeah, absolutely. Oh, my grandfather or great-great-grandfather, his head exploded because they tried some procedure in his mouth. No, I'm just,
Okay.
you just mentioned that.
Yeah.
Look, it's interesting times. I think one of the nice things is that we are, all of us, learning more and more about horses' mouths. And I understand the concept of wanting to save a horse's tooth. If it's developed infundibulum caries where there's now decay and stuff's going on. However, how long does it save that? That's the question. How long will it save the tooth for? You know, does it justify the cost?
If a horse's tooth decays, is it rather just better to pull it out?
That is a hectic shop.
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. We've had over the years, and again I'll be shot down in flames, where we've seen fractures, we've removed the broken piece, said to client, listen, we need to monitor this, and the horse for years has been okay, you know, with that piece of fracture, and obviously the horse is checked on a regular basis. When it starts to develop discharge, you know, where the root's now infected and it's now become detrimental to the horse's health, then obviously you need to look at it. I like to, you know, and obviously with the discussion with a vet, because we're not veterinary, so, you know, do we treat now the horse with antibiotics to see if we can clear that up? If it doesn't, then it's a no-brainer. The tooth has to come out. We've seen a number of complications over the years where teeth have been extracted, and there's been secondary infections and stuff like that. So I'm not adverse to a tooth coming out. I just think, do we not err on the side of caution first, see what other treatments we can do, and then take the tooth if it.
So it's
if it
last
has to
resort.
come out. It's, for me, yes, a last resort. Now, there's been lots of cases where teeth have been extracted and the horse has been fine after that. There's two schools of thought with this, and for us, let's find what the middle ground is. At the end of the day, it's for the benefit of the horse. Again, my humble opinion. I'm not God's gift to anyone in the industry, but I've seen
But
enough.
you have chatted to
seen
vets about it,
yeah.
and they agree as well.
Seen a number, and a couple of the sort of older vets. They pretty much think on the same lines. It's like, what's the best? Let's err on the side of caution, not just gung ho into removing a tooth.
Yeah, I remember Mike Ross suggested that because Bless had lots of fractures, and then someone was like, just, will take out 4 or 5 of the teeth. And I spoke to my dad about it. I'm like, this guy wants to take 4 of my horse's teeth out. He's like, no, that's insane. Like, I don't even do that with my own mouth.
Look at it. We've now been looking after her for a good few years, and again, it's the two schools of thought. Ours is, let's err on the side of caution. She's not battling to eat. She's comfortable. I think sometimes we as humans we know what it's like when we have toothache, but do they actually have toothache like we do? Because for me, one of the main things is, if a horse, what's your first port of call, as it were, when you have a problem with your horse? It stops eating. So we've also got a major problem in its mouth. It's not going to eat. And I know, again, the other quarter, but horses are stoic and they'll just carry on eating. And like, yes, I agree with that. However, there comes a point where the horse will go, no, now I'm far too sore, and let's do something about this. I just remember chatting to my dentist the one day, and I said, do you as human dentists all agree with each other on certain procedures? She said, hell no. So it's life. And I think for me, at the end of the day, we always have to have in mind what's best for the horse.
Yeah.
I've had horses where we've had to send them in to have teeth removed and stuff like that. So I'm not adverse to it. I really, really am not. But for me, it's last resort.
I try to make my horses' lives as comfortable as possible, and I just want them to be horses at the end of the day, because that's what they are.
That's first prize.
So then with Costa, just feeding him in small amounts, like cutting up the apples and carrots and pieces. Because
of his senile excavation, he doesn't have a full occlusion on all his teeth. So just watch. Like if you're giving him an apple, just make sure they're in smaller pieces. Carrots, and then like if he has problem with his grass, his roughage, just wet it, stuff like that. Unfortunately, again, it's an age thing, and it's not something we can, short of taking his teeth out, but that's not all. That's not going to help.
A gummy bear.
So we've just got to make sure that there's no sharp edges, and keep him as comfortable as we possibly can.
What would happen if he just doesn't eat? Like, he just can't eat? Like, what do you do for him?
Well, look, there's a couple of older horses that we do have. You've got the hay replacement pellets now, which helps with their condition if they're battling to eat the roughage. But you take it in stages. For us, wet the grass. If that's sort of not helping, if you have got a place where you can actually have the grass chopped into small pieces. Fortunately, in the wild, the horse doesn't eat. We're fortunate enough we have all the foods and rations and whatever to be able to make them live longer. So we cross that bridge when we get to it. If he's eating his grass, fine now. Long may it last. But unfortunately, like I said, it's an age thing. Their teeth don't last forever, and that's one of the non-joys of owning animals. They're not with us forever.
Yeah.
There comes a time where they leave us.
I'm starting to realize that more and more with these two. Yeah. Like, it's horrible because I grew up with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then realizing that they're not actually like fit athletes forever. There comes a time where they have to retire, because he was my eventing boy for a while, and then I had to. Yeah, he loved it. Like, we used to win all of our shows together, and then there came a time, I think he must have been about like 13 or 14. I had to like early retire him.
Sure.
And now with her, I couldn't even get her to jump 1.35 m anymore, because she was just too sore. Yeah. Like, I could barely even get her over like a meter fence without her refusing.
Yeah, I think it all catches up with us.
Eventually.
I'm not looking forward to aging.
I know.
No, it's not fun.
I really wake up in the morning with like a sore back going, I'm too young for this.
No, you are far too young for that. When you get to my age, then you can say that.
Well, thank you for coming out.
I hope that answers all your questions, my dear.
It does.
Did you get my good side?
I did get your good side.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any more questions for Wayne, let me know in the comments below.
Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share. It really helps my channel to grow.